See how many books we can read in 24 hours. We've never tried to read a lot of books at once.
No.
You take about 2 weeks to read a book?
Pretty much. On average, it's
You've read
2
7
weeks
books this year and we're just hitting the 1st of May tomorrow. I'm trying to read a book a month this year. And I'm struggling.
A book a month? Book a week.
Oh, book a week. Book a week this year. And I'm struggling. So this is going to be interesting. But we've just had a look through the bookshelves and we're going to talk a bit about what we've found. So, first book we have is The Alchemist, which I have chosen for Aidan to read. I read this in a few days. I found it, I think people either really love or hate this book. I just found it like really nice. It's got some nice things in it. It's a nice story. I think if you don't think too much into it, I liked it. It felt like a fairy tale story or something like that. So that's a nice easy read. This one, Philip Pullman. Once Upon a Time in the North, which our friend actually found in a charity shop when we were in Bath or somewhere.
Yeah.
For like £1, which is amazing because we love the Philip Pullman. You told me to read the Philip Pullman series.
Yeah, the Subtle Knife and the Northern Lights and everything.
Yeah. Because I'd watched the film, and you read it when you were a kid, didn't you?
Yeah, and this book's in like beautiful condition as well.
It's a really nice little book. Yeah, and we need to put them all together now. And it's got like a little bit of a map and games and everything in the back, which is so cute. And it's just a story about Lee Scoresby, the balloonist, and Byronson? Oh, I said that wrong. The Armoured Bear. Okay, so that's one of my books. It looks really lovely. Women in Black by
Susan Hill. Great movie.
I've not. I don't know. I don't know anything about it really. Wait,
You've
is
seen
that
the
the one
film?
with Harry Potter in it?
Yeah, yeah.
I did watch it, but all I thought about the whole time was the fact that Dan Radcliffe was in it.
Yeah, very scary movie. Should read the book.
I didn't. I just found it silly.
Very short book though.
You and your dad were terrified by it.
It's the most realistic scary film, I think.
Okay. Well, so this is on my list, and then Aidan might choose to read it if he has time.
Mhm. And then we have Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Mine.
By Philip K. Dick.
I read this like 2 days ago. It's fresh and it's beautiful. I really liked it.
It was actually my book initially. I wanted to read it, but Hayley got around to it before me. And so now I'm going to read it, hopefully.
Yeah, so this
if I get time.
210 pages. But it's a really nice, easy read. I found the first 50 pages hard to get into, so you're just going to have to like get into the book. Because it's very like, oh my god, what's going on? Why is there loads of electric sheep everywhere? And then and then there's this like plot twist, and then it's not a plot twist, and then loads of stuff starts happening, and the world isn't what you think it is. It's just, yeah, it's good. I've read the reviews for this on Goodreads, and they're actually very mixed. A lot of people don't like it. They said like it's a really good idea done wrong, because it is kind of a bit wishy-washy, and once you finish reading it, you're like, oh yeah, actually they could have done a lot more with it.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed it.
That was a bit like, I thought of the Man in the High Castle. I thought that was a bit similar.
Yeah.
Really interesting concept.
Oh yeah, people say that Man in the High
Castle
is better than this.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people. I saw that.
See, I wasn't a fan of it because it was just like all random and all over the place.
I think you like this. It isn't as random. It definitely has a storyline. Right, next one. Animal Farm by George Orwell.
This is one Hayley read a while back.
I haven't got around to reading this yet.
I would like to read George Orwell.
I really enjoyed it. It's it's like 99 pages or something. It's so lovely and short. This book is unselected essays, so it looks quite big, but it's only like 100 pages. And
that makes it less daunting.
Oh yeah, it's really short.
I was I'm never going to read that in this challenge as well as these.
Yeah, it's 75 pages. This is the book.
Wow. I reckon I got that.
You got that? Yeah, that's why I added it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I wanted to read. It's a really good, like political story told through animals, and I'm not a big fan of political anything, to be honest, in books. But I really enjoyed this because I just like how it's done through pigs. I find it really funny, and it kind of it really like shows how ridiculous politics is.
Yeah. Then we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley,
which neither of us have read, but we both really want to. So that's on my list for today.
You've got to read Frankenstein. Yeah. It's got to happen.
It's very exciting.
And finally, Of Mice and Men, because I never did it at
tiny
school.
Book. No, neither of us did it at school. I read it this year, didn't I?
Yeah, But I feel like everyone's read this book, and everyone needs to read this book. Sounds like a very nice story.
Again, it's 103 pages. Or, no, 105. Lovely little book. I really enjoyed it as well. Oh, goodness.
That is.
We will now pan to the picture of our dog. Now we've gone through our books. Oh, wait, one more. We chose an audiobook because we've got to walk the dog today. We've got to do some cooking and things. So while we're doing that, we're going to be listening to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which we've just purchased on Audible with one of our tokens. And that was your choice. You read it as a kid.
I listened to it as a kid.
Oh,
yeah.
listened. And I...
But I don't really remember any of the
I
story.
don't really know what... I listened to the sample just now by Stephen Fry. Sounded a bit bonkers. So it's just going to be a fun thing to put on in the background. And hopefully it's 6 hours long. So it depends on how much extra time we have. But if we can get through that, that'll be an extra one to add.
Narrated by Stephen Fry. So you know it's going to be a winner.
Yeah. Let's start reading. Time to start.
The thing that used to worry him most was the fact that people always used to ask him what he was looking so worried about. He worked in local radio, which he always used to tell his
It is 8 o'clock at night and it is still sunny, which is so great. Well, it's not sunny, but it's still light, which is really exciting. The day has gone really fast. We've just finished our first books. Aidan's how many pages into his second? 13 pages in. His first book was a bit shorter than mine, so he finished first. So he's read Of Mice and Men, and I've read The Woman in Black. And I'm away to start the Philip Pullman book because The Woman in Black was dark. I don't really read like ghost story. I've never read a ghost story before. I don't really watch horror movies or anything, so it was like different reading that. But it was really good. I did enjoy it. So now we've got some beers. I think we're going to open them and start our next books. And in a bit we're going to order pizza. You okay in there, buddy? sat down to film this clip, and Fletcher immediately was like, "What are you doing? We've been cuddling for 24 hours. I want more cuddles." So he is now propped up on a pillow so you can see him. And he's just loving it. He's had a great time. Let's first start with Fletcher's experience. Oh, just his head's in now. But he had an amazing time, didn't you? Yes. He got cuddles the whole time. He kept... Oh, there's so many. I'm sure you've just seen lots of clips of him reading with us. He's just been totally, like, snuggly and lovely. And he's, like, not had that much exercise either. We haven't been out on too many walks or anything. He's just like, yeah, this is a stay-at-home day. So we're now going to take him for a nice long walk, which I'm sure he'll get excited for, but right now he's still...
Very happily being
chilling on his pillow.
a house dog.
Oh, what's that?
First book I read was Of Mice and Men, and I thought it was quite a deep book, quite sad, but also I think it was quite sweet as you go through just exploring the relationship between the two main characters, George and Lenny, and then it covers quite a lot of interesting themes, especially about the good and bad sides to every person, which I quite liked.
Yeah, most people read it in school and don't like it, but I think if you haven't read it in school, then it's a good book, and you can still reread it again and have a good experience with it.
So then moved on to The Alchemist, which I really enjoyed, despite after reading it going on to Goodreads and seeing a whole bunch of really tragic reviews.
Yeah.
People just taking the mick out of it and saying how much they hated it.
There was a lot of like self-help kind of...
Yeah, I think this book is what you make of it. I think a lot of people really took away that it's like trying to convey a really deep meaning, and it is, but if you take it really literally, then maybe you wouldn't enjoy it if you're quite a realistic person, which I would say I am normally. But I think first of all it's just a really nice story of a boy just venturing through the world and enjoying everything it has to offer. On top of that, I just thought that it's nice. It does have some good meaning in it, and you don't have to take everything fully literally. Like, it's quite spiritual, but the general principles of just pushing for the things you want to do in life, and if you pursue them, you will more than likely achieve them. I think that's quite a nice takeaway from this book.
So they're both like 4-star reads for you-ish?
I think so, yeah. I would say the Of Mice and Men would maybe be like... No, you know what? Yeah, I would say they're both 4 stars.
Nice.
I think.
And lastly?
Now I'm on to Animal Farm, which... I've only read like 30 pages so far. It's only got 70 odd pages in it, so I'm nearly halfway through. But so far it's really good. It's interesting to see, the book's around this farm and the animals essentially overthrow the farmer, and it's quite interesting. It's got the themes of a revolution, which follow that to many revolutions throughout history, but it's quite interesting seeing how through the eyes of the animals you cover themes that you would see in humans as well.
Yeah, it's very political, isn't it? But
yeah.
It's kind of like it's kind of like oversimplifying politics and kind of like trying to show you how silly and ridiculous the whole world is, essentially.
Yeah, and so far it's been quite
for a good story. They use a lot of good like connections. It's clever.
Yeah.
I like it.
So far it's been quite happy, but then there's going to be, I can see the dark sort of undertones coming through already, as there's slightly more ulterior motives to the revolution for the pigs who are leading it, I think.
And talking about dark undertones, the first book I read was The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. We have a few Susan Hill books. I realised I actually had read one of her books before, which is The Boy in the Castle, is it?
King of the Castle, I'm the King of the Castle.
I'm the King of the Castle. There you go, you can grab it.
This one here.
That one, which I read ages ago, so I don't remember much about it. But I found The Woman in Black really good. I have watched the film. You made me watch the film a couple of years ago, but I was so like determined not to get scared that I don't think I took much in. So it was interesting going back and reading it and realising, like, talking with Aidan, what he remembers from the film. It's very different. So if you've watched the film and haven't read the book yet, you still can. It's a very different story. It's not as spooky. It's not like that jump scare horror type book, but it's dark, and it's got those kind of scary, eerie themes in it. I found the weirdest thing about it starts off in the future, like him when he's old, and the first chapter's like a nice New Year's, Christmas Eve kind of thing, and the kids are all telling ghost stories. and then it kind of goes back in time, and it's like he gets very upset because he's got like a real life ghost story, so it's quite upsetting for him. And then he goes back and basically says that to get over this I need to write it down, so he writes down his whole experience. It was good, but it spent a long time world building the first scene. It spent a long time world building this, and then you don't see it again. So I don't know how I feel about it. I think I liked it, like that structure. I think it was clever, but read it and find out if you like the kind of odd structure of it. And you don't find out a lot about what's going on the whole time. It kind of all comes at the end, and it's like, oh, this is why all this has been happening. It's like, oh, would have been nice to know that 20 pages ago. It would have also made it a bit more scary, maybe, but because I think in the film you know what's happening through the whole film.
Yeah, which makes it quite sinister.
Yeah, whereas you're just like, oh, I don't know what's going on, but it's not very fun. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and it ends tragically. The last line is, they asked for my story, I have told it, enough. Very hard-hitting ending. Yeah. Okay, next book I read, because as you can see that put me in a strange mood, was a much more light-hearted book, which was His Dark Materials. I've since found out there's 3 extra books along the series. So this one is 0.5, the prequel, and then there's 2 other short stories like this that come after the main books. So I'm going to try and find them as well. But this was £1 we found from the charity shop. So that was really exciting. It was an okay story. I'd probably give the story like 2 stars, because it's just a little, like, it's 100 pages, but it's a very small book. And it's got some like cute little pictures and things in it. But it's not as much as a children's book, because it's got like a lot of drinking and guns, and so it wasn't so much my cup of tea. But then at the end, Philip Pullman loves to add extra like articles and things to the end of his books to really like create like a very immersed world. I remember really enjoying that from the other books in His Dark Materials. So that put it up to the 3 stars, because I was like, oh, that's really cool and clever. I do actually quite like it. And it's definitely worth reading. It's just not, it's a short story, so it's not overly encapsulating, but it's really interesting seeing how they meet and like the original story, because you see a lot of Lee and Eric in the main book, so it's quite nice to see how they've met. Yeah. Lastly, I moved on to Frankenstein, which I am now roughly halfway through, and I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's a bit more wordy, as I said before, and I don't know what's going to happen yet, but I like it. It's definitely not what I thought Frankenstein was. I knew the whole Frankenstein isn't Frankenstein's monster line, but the book so far has just been about the scientist Frankenstein, and it's all from his point of view so far, so I don't know if that's going to change, but that wasn't what I was expecting for the first half of the book. But yeah, I'll have to finish that and see how it goes. Fletcher, we've stopped reading now. It's time to get up. You want to get up? Come on! It's time to do the day! No, I think our dog's broken. Oh! No! He's got too used to being comfy. This is ridiculous. Okay, Fletcher, we'll try again later. You can just read something else for now.